So I want to talk about using quartal voicings within a 2-5-1 context. So I had another video talking about quartal voicings and how you build them and how you can get inversions and stuff like that. So if you need some refresher on that, go watch it. In this video, I'm going to be expanding upon that prior knowledge. So one thing that's really cool with quartal voicings is how to apply them over a 2-5-1 setting. Because often we think of quartal harmony as kind of being this sort of ambiguous or open-ended type of voicing structure that you can play in a modal context, like if you're playing over like D minor. You have all those kind of static harmony voicings that work super great. But in this case, I want to incorporate it over a common 2-5-1 progression, in this case in the key of C, D minor 7, G altered, to C major 7. So let's talk about what voicings we're going to be using for each of these chords. Now, the cool thing about the quartal voicings is that you can harmonize a scale with them. So in this case, I'm going to be thinking of D minor 7 as being within C major scale, which it is. It's the 2 chord, right? So now I can think about how I can use any of my quartal voicings for C major. So check this out. I'm going to start building a quartal voicing in the key of C. I'm going to start on C. So I have C, F, and B. And I'm just going to play through the scale with that quartal voicing. So that is me playing the C major scale in fourths, right? So we have this 3-note quartal voicing, a fourth and another fourth. So I'm going to play this again, but over a D minor chord so you can kind of hear it overall. It does kind of still get to that modal type sound because you're playing a lot of notes that are a little bit outside of the chord or maybe are extensions and kind of are part of a bigger scale tonality. But it still works really great. So check this out. I'm just going to lay it down in D minor 7. So obviously the lower you get, it definitely gets kind of muddy, so you have to be careful. But really, all of those work really, really nicely. So you have these options that you can play over the 2 chord. So the way I'm going to structure this now is I'm going to have 2 voicings for each chord. So I'm going to start off by using these 2 voicings right here. So we've got G, C, F, and then A, D, G. These are nice because they're symmetrical, they're the same shape, built in force, and they really kind of get to that D minor sound. You have the 11, 7, and 3, and the 5, 1, and 11. So that sounds great. So if I had D minor 7 to G altered, how can I extend this quartal harmony over the 5 chord? This is where you get some really interesting options. Because if I think of my G altered as being part of a scale, we're going to be thinking the G altered scale or A flat melodic minor, and that's this sound. So what I'm going to do to incorporate the 2 chords with these voicings is actually voice lead between them. So what I'm going to do is we have these 2 voicings for D minor, and then from there I'm going to find the next 2 closest quartal voicings in the G altered scale, and I'm kind of ascending. This is like my general trajectory is a line that's going upwards. So it's going to be this. Okay, so we got 2 for D minor 7, and then here's my next closest possible G altered voicing from the scale. So check this out over the progression. Again. So you get some really fantastic and colorful harmony over that basic G7, and all you're doing is playing 3 notes, built in fourths, from the G altered scale. I love that sound. Now the last step is simply to just resolve to any C major or one chord voicing. I'm not necessarily going to do a quartal voicing, because if I did that, I would have the 4, I would have an F in there. So you kind of have to alter this and just make resolve on any C major voicing. So I'm going to do this one. So I've got 1, 3, 7, or you could do 1, 5, 7. So the whole thing is going to be this. One more time. So you have this wonderful voice leading with a line that's moving up, and I kind of always think of voicings as having a melodic note on top. So I have, it's a really cool line, and now you're harmonizing it in an interesting way underneath that really gets to the heart of the harmony. So you want to practice this in other keys, and this was just one place to play these voicings, right? You could start anywhere in that C major quartal thing. So like I could start here. Let's say these are my 2 C major voicings that I'm going to put over D minor 7. And then I would voice lead to the next closest G altered. It's 2 G altered, and then end on some sort of C major chord. So check this out. Again. So you get these really interesting combinations, and again, you notice in this last one, you have the last 2 voicings being, so the top note actually stays the same, which is a really cool kind of sound. That you can experiment in other ways, like I just did. I was just moving those bottom 2 notes. You hear a lot of piano players do that type of thing. So again, you can really do this formula over any part of the scale and just voice lead. You can voice lead down as well. Obviously, I could do this. There's all sorts of combinations. Don't think you just have to go up or down. You can also skip around. I will expand on this. There's definitely lots more to talk about. But until then, I will catch you next time and look forward to hearing from you. See ya.